Good afternoon, Zimbabwe, and welcome to Zimbabwe Daily, your everyday platform where we bring you conversations that matter. Today on the platform, we have Behind the Mic, bringing you a subject around LPG gas. You know, everyone is using gas in their homes because of the prepaid electricity metering. We have all turned to gas. Because of the challenges of electricity that we had in the previous years, we all turned to gas. So because gas has become a substance that we use on a daily basis, retailers have come and said, what about us, the ones who are selling gas? The people who are using gas are also asking, how safe are we? So the Liquefied Petroleum Gas Safety Association of Zimbabwe has called us to bring this conversation right to you. So today we are talking mitigating impacts of LPG industry, mitigating environmental impacts. So in the studio, we have a representative of the Environmental Management Authority, Mr. Chikurira. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I would want you to fully introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. Thank you once again for the opportunity. My name is Alpha Chikurira. I'm the manager responsible for environmental quality with the Environmental Management Agency, EMA.
Right. Now, when we are talking liquefied petroleum gas and EMA, where do you meet?
Perhaps for the viewers that don't know, LPG is liquefied petroleum gas, which is a mixture of propane, butane, and butene, which is then liquefied under pressure and used as a fuel for cooking. And I find that because of its properties, it's regarded as hazardous substances. It's quite flammable and cause also an explosive hazard because it's packed under pressure, is containerized. So as EMA, in terms of the Environmental Management Act, we monitor hazardous substances from importation, manufacturing, distribution, transportation, storage and use, and storage and sale. So our interest is ensuring that every citizen has got access to a clean, safe and healthy environment, and that hazardous substances, of which LPG is one, are managed in a manner which is sustainable and doesn't pose a threat to public safety as well as the environment.
Right. And we've seen that you're trying to mitigate on the dangers and the challenges posed by liquefied petroleum, as you've said. Now, what process does one have to get, for example, to be a retailer or a wholesaler for liquefied petroleum gas?
Okay. As I indicated earlier on, we monitor the entire value chain from importation, transportation, storage and use, storage and sale. So for one to go into the business, I'll start off with the wholesale sector. Mm-hmm. If you want to sell LPG and you've got storage facilities that exceed 1,000 kgs on site, then you have to do what we call an environmental impact assessment.
Right.
Which is basically a study that is done before the project is implemented to identify the negative environmental impacts or risks that a project might actually pose, and then come up with mitigations that can be able to reduce the impact. So the process of doing an EIA, first of all, you have to submit a prospectus to EMA, that's the Director General, which we then review within 20 days and give the terms of reference for the full EIA, which is to be conducted. The EIA study is then done. The proponent has to engage a consultant. The EIA report is prepared, and we then review the EIA report. Of course, we conduct a number of consultations with a number of stakeholders, regulators that are in the LPG sector. For instance, the fire brigade, city of under the local authority, other organizations, Western Zera, and the like, also being consulted. So should the EIA pass, should we find that that project can actually be implemented in that area, mm-hmm. then give an EIA certificate, which is valid for 2 years. After which, into the operation stage, should the person want then the wholesaler want to then import LPG, mm-hmm. you can then do so by making an application for a license for importation. And transporters that transport LPG gas should also then get a license for transportation from the agency. Right. So again, the thrust behind the system is that to ensure that there is safety and there's very minimal environmental impact throughout the entire value chain.
Right. And, as a citizen, and I've got this big tank in my house, and I'm thinking I could actually start a business. Let me take my tanks outside the house and start selling LP gas. What is my process to get myself assessed, for the whole environmental impact of that?
Well, first of all, we require you to have a permit from the local authority, the fire authority in that particular area, to say that, like I indicated earlier on, it poses a very serious danger, an explosive hazard, flammable hazard. So therefore, we require to have, that permit from the local authority, fire department. And once that permit is in place, you then make an application to EMA. And as EMA, we then require you to submit your certificate of cooperation, ID of the person responsible for that particular facility,
Right.
as well as pay a very nominal administration fee. At which point in time we then come to assess the site to see whether it's suitable or not. And we've got minimum guidelines that we follow. And should the site, actually be a site which is suitable for that particular activity, we then issue a license. And you can then go on to other licensing authorities, ZERA and the like.
Right.
So that is how you can. But normally we see us dissuade people from, wanting to go to the business without having, met all the requirements. in terms of-
Kunenzara kunzoko.
that much we appreciate definitely. But you should, a tank explode. I
Right.
can tell you the impact is quite severe, not only from a public safety perspective, but also from an environmental management perspective as well.
Right. Right. All right. So we're coming to you live from our Zimbabwe Daily Studios, and we are talking to Mr. Chikurira from the Environmental Management Authority. We are talking liquefied petroleum gas and how we can mitigate dangers through licensing. And I think you've heard a little bit about the process that you need to take in order for you to get licensed. Now, I want to come to the fees. You've talked of nominal fee. What is the fee? If I am a wholesaler, for example, I sell to others who later resell to the end user. So when we are talking of the bulk supplier, and then when we're talking of the retailer who now sells to my mchaka, in my hood, what does that mean in terms of licensing?
Well, for the larger wholesale facilities, we find that the license is about 40,000, 47,000, thereabout. Whereas for the smaller LPG dealers, the fee is actually 20,053. And the emphasis, of course, is from an ease of doing business perspective, where we also then try to link that with the footprint or the impact of that particular business. You find that when you've got LPG in very significant quantities, there's also a higher risk. And also from a business perspective, when you've got higher amounts, then means your sales revenue is also higher. So you're able to assimilate perhaps a bit more.
Right.
And those fees are then meant to obviously fund the monitoring activities that we conduct as EMA. Where you've got a higher risk, obviously you want inspectors to come in more frequently, as opposed to the smaller retailers where you want perhaps less frequent or less rigorous monitoring.
Right. And have we had such situations where we've had these leaks happening and EMA having to come through to assist? I mean, what is the leak management procedures that you have as EMA for our retailers and wholesalers of LPG gas?
Yes, I think of the CAF, I can think of one incident quite recently with one tanker that was importing LPG from South Africa. We developed a leak at Beibridge border post. Yeah, and we are very thankful that we work hand in glove with a number of other stakeholders. For instance, I indicated that we work hand in glove with the fire department,
Right,
and various local authorities. So we're able to isolate the truck, bring it from a very highly populated area to an area which is less populated, which evacuate people from that particular area and ensure that there's adequate dispersion. And then technocrats actually come in and try and attend to
the leak.
to the leak and plug it in. But I'm also quite happy to also report to the nation that as EMA, we've actually procured a hazardous materials responsive vehicle, a very specialized vehicle at great cost that will be able to attend to such incidents where we've got leakage of whatever hazardous material, be it petrol, diesel, even LPG gas.
Right.
So we are very great capacitated to be able to attend to that. But again, we always work hand in glove with a number of other stakeholders, the fire departments, the ZERA, civil protection department, and the like. Yeah.
You make it sound like you've got one vehicle.
At the moment, yes, it's a very capital-intensive investment.
Okay.
But we're looking obviously to invest to buy more vehicles. But this one is a highly specialized vehicle.
Right.
We've got other smaller units that cannot be able to attend to cases of smaller spills.
Right. So what actions, you've spoken about you working hand in glove with the fire brigade, the fire departments of local authorities. What other procedures should somebody take? Should they suspect there could be a leakage happening? So maybe I think the last time I had a conversation with Mr. Mandela, he said the idea to set up this association was emanated from the fact that one of the gas, there was like a near explosion when he had gone to buy his gas. Now, what safety procedures should retailers be aware of? Should me as a consumer be aware of if I suspect there could be a leakage in a spot where they are selling their gas?
Okay, I think first and foremost is to evacuate people from the particular area. Like I said, it's got an explosive hazard, and secondly, you realize that LPG has got an odorant within it, which is added specifically for purposes of being able to detect whether there's a leakage.
Right.
So if you detect that there's a smell, it's better to err on the side of caution and evacuate people from that particular area and ensure that then call the appropriate authorities, the fire authorities, EMA, and to be able to come in and attend to that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I think if you have any questions, any need to know more about this and you want to get into this business, do attend to these issues that have been mentioned, because once you are licensed, it means the authorities know where you are. And when they know where you are, it means when you are in danger, they're able to quickly come in and assist. Remember, we are talking liquefied petroleum gas. It's a very inflammable substance. That means it can be so hazardous, not just to you, but to your neighbor. So we need to be cautious around those issues. We are coming to you live from Zimbabwe Daily, and this is Behind the Mic, a program where we look at those issues that may seem subtle, but are very necessary in making our nation move. Now, Mr. Chikurira, before you go, I would want you to speak to Zimbabweans. I want you to speak to retailers. I want you to speak to us, the consumers of LPG. We are not safe, but obviously if we follow certain procedures, we can minimize the risks. What would you tell Amai Ezra in her house who is using LPG? What would you say to Mkoma Tonde Pakona warikutengesa gas before we close?
Well, I would want to quote one Capedam by Paracelsus, who is well regarded as the father of toxicology. He says that medicines in large quantities make the best poisons. Right. And the poisons in small quantities make the best medicines. And I think that there's a lesson to be learned from the LPG scenario. That definitely is something which is very useful, but it's also quite dangerous in very large quantities. So therefore, we should always take heed to ensure that we protect ourselves, protect our loved ones from the dangers and hazards associated with LPG. Licensing is one of the tools that can be used to ensure, of course, that people comply with the minimum standards that are required for the safe trade in LPG. So I'd heavily, I really want to encourage our stakeholders out there to actually invest in licensing their processes before they want to enter to that particular sort of business line. So I think
right, Mr. Mind, I know I said the last words, but if as a consumer, how do I know that this one is a licensed person? They've got their nice cages that they've built, but how do I know kuti aka license for?
Well, their licenses by law should be prominently displayed at the place of trade, so they are open for public inspection, and as a consumer, you can actually vote with your feet. If you find yourself in a very unsafe environment where you're buying LPG from an unlicensed outlet, vote with your feet, run with your life.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Zimbabwe, for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Chikurira, for making the time. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for joining us on Zimbabwe Daily. This was Behind the Microphone, where we are looking at the liquefied petroleum gas and safety around the same. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much to the LPG SAZ for bringing this program so that we can all be educated around safety issues in our use of LP gas. Thank you so much, Zimbabwe, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day.